My name is Seth Watson, and welcome to our podcast. So, if you're new here, thanks again for joining us. Every week, we run down a lot of tech news that actually matters to small businesses. So, here we do this every week, and let's kind of dive right in. So first off, the DOJ is looking pretty closely at the gig economy. So what this is an article from Business Insider, and it actually is a very interesting article. So, at Do It Yourself CIO, we help small businesses, and we are doing a focus. Like we have a focus. So, for the next few months, actually for the year, we are focusing on solopreneurs, so startups, one-person businesses like Do It Yourself CIO, and we are really focusing on the tools, strategies from a technical perspective to help them succeed. And so we are very interested in the gig economy and solopreneurship and entrepreneurship because it directly affects not only us, but it really does lay the foundation of a lot of almost all businesses. All businesses need to process credit cards, need to be able to accept money. Businesses these days need a website. Um, and if you're really savvy, a content management software and things along those lines. So over the next few months, you'll definitely see do-it-yourself CIO focus on what those things are and how to set them up and what's out there that's actually could work for your company. But that being said, this article is talking about the DOJ and the US government trying to get its head around the gig economy. So, one of the interesting things is that this is still a very new concept. There's so you have people that are Uber, you have people from Fiverr, you have independent contractors, you have solopreneurs. There's when you talk about one person businesses, the what exactly that is runs the gamut. And when we're talking about the larger economy and when those businesses interact with traditional businesses, it's very easy for paperwork to, let's just say, get fuzzy. Um, so from a DOJ's perspective, there's a lot of companies that are misclassifying contractors, saying that they're not employees when in fact that they are. Actually saying that, oh, we like playing games with like tax numbers, employee counts, things like that, because that also affects benefits, that also affects protections. And so the DOJ is actually taking a pretty close look at what that looks like. And so this is actually a good thing, especially for content creators, especially for one-person businesses, because that confusion allows for a lot of companies to take advantage of small businesses, especially one-person businesses like myself. So um, having clear rules to the road will help everyone going forward. And um, at the same time, like, definitely from a small business perspective, put more money in your pocket, but also, kind of make sure that you can do what you want to do and help grow your business without having to deal with, without having to deal with a lot of the corporate bureaucracy. So that article's on Business Insider. It's definitely worth checking out. It's more than the DOJ. It's basically a lot of different agencies within the U.S. government that's taking a look at how the gig economy is interacting with our economy and with businesses. So next up, it is official. TikTok is banned in the state of Montana. So oh, this is funny and it's actually not. So a few weeks ago, you may have heard that TikTok CEO went to Congress to basically, in a lot of ways, defend TikTok. So making sure that their data isn't being used for espionage purposes, that's actually safe for Americans um, to actually use a platform. Um, However, the state of Montana kind of jumped the gun. And so instead of a federal law, this is a state law where the it is after where the state of Montana is saying that not necessarily TikTok, but it is illegal to share information. This is actually very important. It's illegal to share information, private information to foreign adversaries. So this is not just TikTok. This is basically any social media company. And the language of this is broad. And the good part about this is, and I shouldn't say good, but one thing to note that this law doesn't take effect until the end of the year, December 31st. But on January 1, this does take effect. And the way that it's written, this will change the landscape of social media if it stands. Because if you know how software works, if you know how a lot of these companies work, there's no real way to monitor any of this. So, like social media companies these days, Facebook, YouTube, like Twitter, you name it, collects a lot of information on users. And like v- v- this isn't just video data or data that's deemed sensitive. According to the law, they don't really define what sensitive data is. They actually use a standard that's used in a lot of other court cases, but that standard includes your first name, last name is sensitive information. Your username is sensitive information, especially when it's tied to a face or likeness. And so that really does cover almost every single social media platform. And this is only in one state, but if you know how a lot of these things work, so if a company has to implement these types of controls for one state, it's going to be difficult to enforce this, and it's going to lead to controls that is a little bit more global across the platform. And so expect a lot more to come from this development because again, I'm in Virginia in the DC area. So like this, you may think that this law doesn't affect me, but this is going to be a very interesting development over this next year. How like whether or not this law continues to stand, because this is actual state law. The federal government doesn't need to weigh in on this. But definitely like there will be lawsuits on First Amendment rights and other freedom of speech aspects coming from different people. And so well, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But again, this law takes effect at the end of the year. So expect a lot of noise between now and then. Next is the state of the creator economy. So Oxford Economics actually released a report, kind of outlining the effects of, in this case, YouTube, and what YouTube actually means to the U.S. economy. It's actually a very interesting read. It's a very deep read. There's a lot of statistics about not only there's a lot of statistics, but also definitions about what is the creator economy and how not it's not just content creators making money off of YouTube. It's jobs that are being created. Um it's jobs being created. It's photographers, videographers, editors having jobs from corporate America or for other businesses that is actually fueling the economy. It is cameras that's being bought, sound equipment that's being bought. It really does take a very interesting look at the macro lens of the creator economy and kind of breaks this down. Now, from a small business perspective, is that it actually gets interesting because as you see here, it actually shows some statistics that where YouTube actually helps small businesses. Now, again, if you watched YouTube for any amount of time, especially if you're a small business is trying to figure out how YouTube works, how to use it, there'll be tons of people that say, "Hey, YouTube's great for my business, and do A, B, and C, and you'll get a million views, and everyone will love you." But it's one thing to have that anecdotal evidence, and it's another thing to have actually something to back that up. So it's actually wild that 78% of people in their surveys said that YouTube is actually essential to their business growth. Um, 83%, this one's actually really interesting for me, of businesses actually use it for local outreach, not just a global internet outreach, but it helps in like reaching out their actual like place of business. And so this is so YouTube and social media itself is not simply a tool for the internet. Is very much something that like small businesses, like all businesses, but especially small businesses can get behind and like use it to help grow their business. And it looks different for every business. So again, do it yourself CIO actually will take a look at this for like when it comes to small businesses. We're starting with we're starting with single person entrepreneurs like myself. But this is more of a industry to industry. So how a real estate agent will use YouTube is different than a beautician, which is different than a dentist, which is different than a landscape artist. And so, but at the end of the day, they're saying that YouTube can help with all of it. And I've seen that play out. And these are numbers that actually do back that up, which is actually amazing. So links to this would be in the show notes, show notes. And again, if you want to read more about this, there's a lot more. I believe it's like a 20, 30 page PDF file that just kind of outlines both testimonials, but also really interesting facts about YouTube's impact on the American economy. And this is based off of numbers in 2022, but it just got released this week. So so next we go into Cyber Corner. So Cyber Corner, but this is a part of our show where we take a look at cybersecurity, especially when it comes to small businesses. So when it comes to cybersecurity, small businesses definitely get the short end of the stick because a lot of products for cybersecurity are tend to more medium to large enterprise type companies. But at the same time, cybersecurity for small businesses, not only is it easy to implement solutions, but it's also very easy to get tripped up. And the consequences of getting caught with a phishing attack or a ransomware for small businesses can be devastating. And so like one of the things we do every week is just kind of take a look at what that like news that actually impacts that and tips and tricks that may help you out. So all that to say, this week has been kind of quiet on the cybersecurity front. However, one big thing is 1Password. So, on a little bit of an aside, um, if you don't have a password manager for your company, get one. Like, just get one. It's not only will it help you manage your passwords and allow you to have more complicated passwords, that help your business be secure, but it's one of those things that um, it's a simple solution that anyone can utilize. And one password is actually releasing a product that will even make this even more simple. So Passage is a series of tools that Password is releasing that enables business to use a passkey for authentication. So, um, a little bit of a explanation of what a passkey authentication looks like, and it's starting to be rolled out by players like PayPal and Google and a few others. But um, what passkeys tend to be is a this has been around the industry for a long time where you have a public key and you have a private key. There we go. The words were escaping me for a second. But you have a public key and you have a private key. And so Um, beforehand, like we didn't use that for general authentication for websites because then that means you have a lot of public keys that you have to keep track of, but also, and this is probably the more important reason why we really haven't adopted this for a lot of websites, is because it's very sticky for the machine that you're using. And so and so it becomes difficult if I have 5 or 6, computers to use a passkey system or to use a public-private, authentication system for websites, because at that point, then that public key that I have needs to be, actually needs to exist on all those machines. The good part is it looks like the technology is now starting to get to a point where managing that kind of system is starting to become a little bit more feasible. And 1Password, which is a big player in this industry, is moving forward with that. And so definitely keep an eye out. This is in, I believe, open beta right now, but in the next few months, this is if you have especially if you have an e-commerce site um, or something where you have users logging in and out of logging in or your systems. This is something to keep an eye on that will definitely keep your user safe, but also your own company safe. If you're a company that needs access to a lot of digital services as well, to basically not have to share passwords among employees and things along those lines. So this is actually going to be really exciting, and this is a tool specifically marketed for small businesses. And it can work for anyone, of course, but again, it's a little bit of love for small businesses. So definitely gets 2 thumbs up and do it yourself CIO. So yay. So before we wrap up, thanks again for joining us. So a few things I wanted to bring to your attention before we get into our AI corner. Our OpsKit newsletter. So, links on this will be in the description below. But this is our monthly newsletter where we have a summary of all the things that we do at Do It Yourself CIO. So, we review tools, we review services, um, summary of key things and key news like from shows like this that we disseminate once a month. So subscribe to this newsletter. You will not miss anything that we are doing. It's a free newsletter. Link to this is below, or you can go to our website at www.drycio.com. Also, like this is our launch month. We are still very much a new operation. And so if you go to that site, consider becoming a member. And members, we are still like figuring out what that looks like, but members are able to help shape what this community is going to look like. So what tools that we're going to review, what tools we're going to review, how we can actually help your business, Q&A sessions and things like that. More details of that to come, but um, first 100, but we are giving out free membership, and our membership's yearly, and it's just a way for us to have people just kind of invest in this community. And this is not just myself and other contributors just coming from a mountaintop saying, hey, this is your IT. It's very much a community of practitioners to help each other out, and that's what we're trying to build. So first 100 members gets a free membership. So go to that website, become a member. Also, link to that is in the description, as well as the code for your for your free annual membership. So last is AI Watch. So AI Watch is you kind of have to be living under a rock these days to um, just kind of know that like, hey, AI is a thing. Like generative AI is a thing. And so if we did a article or a rundown of all the AI topics that could help small businesses, this would be a 2-hour podcast. And no, none of us have time for that. So this is basically a curated list of AI articles over the year, like year over the week to basically that are interesting and some things to keep an eye on. First off, the first article is from Entrepreneur. This one's funny because if you read this, this is very much reads like I embrace my AI overlords, but entrepreneurs are embrace generative AI. And again, while this really does reading this really does sound like, I mean, it's definitely a bias. They are pro AI, which is in contrast to the next article, which says 61% of Americans say that it's going to threaten mankind. But back to the entrepreneur article, um, myself and um, both in this company, but also just in general. I've always been the type to steer into a skid. I'm from Detroit. I know how to drive in ice. That is one of the first things that they teach you in driving school. I didn't realize that was not taught across the US, but that makes sense because Texas don't really get snow like that. But that aside, one of the things they teach you to do is if you're in danger, especially when you start skidding on ice, is to don't fight the skid, but you steer into it and you get control back over your car. Also, to just not speed also just to not be a speed demon when it's in the middle of a blizzard or icy conditions, because that's just kind of silly. But I digress. The article very much is, and I share this take, um, especially when it comes to small businesses, keep an eye on what AI has to offer. AI at the end of the day is very much a force multiplier. These are a series of tools that will turn one person into 10 people, into 100 people, depending on the tool itself. And this is brand new technology. And so as companies figure out what works, what doesn't, as tools get developed, and there's going to be a lot of tools, and a lot of it's going to be garbage. So again, like do it yourself CIO will help be able to sift through some of that noise for you. But as a whole, we're not trying to advocate be fearful of AI, because the fact of the matter is it's going to happen. It's already happened. And so the best thing that we can do is to understand what that looks like for our company, understand what that looks like for our personal life as well, and see like how can we either benefit from it, or if there's protection that needs to happen to like for protection. Which gets back to the second one, which is a 61% of Americans say that AI threatens humanity's future. And yeah, the art the headline kind of speaks for itself. And um I'll say it like this. For any new technology, there's definitely a fear of the unknown. It wasn't that long ago that people thought that crypto would upend all of money as we know it, and like we're still here. We're still using US dollars, Chinese are using yuan, euro sources, like we still use currency. So AI from a technology still has a long way to go. However, based off the pace of how AI is, based off the pace that AI is being adopted, as well as just what AI is able to do, I really do think that this is the start of a different, actually a different age. So similar to the industrial age, we had the digital age. This might actually be the start of more of an AI age, just because of the disruptive nature of all of this. So 61% of Americans feeling threatened or kind of concerned about life makes sense. And so those fears are definitely like not out of the wild blue. But again, kind of getting back to my first point, having a sober look at what's what will help a lot. So um that being said, again, the third article, and it's funny because um I forgot the order I had this in, but it's basically a call to regulate AI. And this is where things are going to be very interesting because our like one of our earlier topics was about Governments trying to figure out how to regulate social media, in this case, TikTok. Governments really aren't haven't had a good track record at regulating technology. And so regulating AI may be a we need to regulate AI. It sounds like a great soundbite. The practice is going to be ugly. And I have do not really have faith that especially US government, we'll see how other governments around the world how this plays out. But yeah, regulation needs to exist. Where that happens, we don't know. I don't know, and I don't have any good answers, but definitely it's one of those things that we are keeping an eye on because again, um, this is gonna change this is gonna change the landscape, and it's changing the landscape very quickly. Things that took even in as a content creator, things that took days to do takes literally minutes. And that's just in video editing technology. There's gonna be a lot of other industries that's this is gonna upend. So, yeah, it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. Um with that, that is it for our podcast today. Thanks again for joining us. We'll be here next Friday with a new set of stuff, and definitely looking forward to it. Meanwhile, we have videos on YouTube. That's basically our primary place where we post articles, we post reviews, we post weekly. So please subscribe when you get a moment, and we'll see you next week. Till then, take care.